square kilometres, Portugal has the largest area to provide search and rescue cover for in Europe. In fact, Portugal is responsible for the second largest area worldwide, only behind that of Canada.
Yes, and that's an area of responsibility for search and rescue that stretches from Portugal's own coastline well out into the middle of the Atlantic, and it takes in the major air and sea routes to North America, so it's got to be well equipped with rescue helicopters, quite apart from the sheer size of that area, and with the Merlin, it certainly is.
Good demonstration there of a really rapid yaw rate. As the aircraft sits in front of you for what they call the Cardinal's public greeting. This will be followed by a max performance vertical climb. A 90-degree right turn. And a high-performance 270-degree turn back to crowd centre.
This helicopter comes from Esquadra, or Squadron 751, stationed at Montijo, near Lisbon. The Portuguese bought the Merlin as a replacement for the Aerospatiale Puma, and it's been a huge advance. It's Portugal's first helicopter with a so-called glass or digital cockpit. The crew are equipped with night vision goggles. It's got all sorts of modern sensors. It almost doubled the available payload from the Puma's 18 people that it could carry to 35, and the radius of action is, crucially, almost doubled from 200 to around 400 nautical miles if an extra fuel tank is installed in the cargo bay. The Merlin's now been in service with the Portuguese for 20 years.
The 751 Squadron are known as the Pumas. This is when they were named after the aircraft, which was the first type they operated after being commissioned back in 1978. So the Portuguese Air Force, and specifically Esquadra 751, maintains a 24-hour alert 365 days a year. So it's ready to intervene in the cases of distress calls coming from anywhere inside their vast area of responsibility. This extends well beyond the Portuguese mainland to the Azores and the island of Madeira.
Yes, and full standby is maintained at Porto Santo on Madeira, and also at Lajes in the Azores, but that's not by 751 Squadron anymore. Esquadra 752 has been established to cover that off. The Merlin can fly sorties of up to 8 hours in duration. The longest distance 751 has flown to date is about 360 nautical miles from the Azores to Flores, the westernmost island of the Portuguese archipelago. And the roles these helicopters perform depend to some extent on where they are active. Search and rescue at sea is their main mission, but on Madeira and the Azores they also perform medical evacuation and transport tasks. And out in the Azores, the winds can get pretty strong, and that and the high waves really presents a set of challenges to the pilots of these Merlins, which they've always met, because they have so far, this squadron, saved in excess of 5,200 lives across its years of activity. And This is the roll demonstration part of the display beginning. You might have noticed that the cargo door has opened, and we'll soon see one of the squadron's rescue swimmers being deployed.
And for those of you down the front, if you look straight ahead to the centre, about 150 metres in front of the aircraft, you'll see a simulated survivor with a smoke flare. Smoke flares generally issue to aircrew, and they provide two purposes. Firstly, for visual identification, and secondly, to give the crew of the rescuing helicopter an idea of what the surface wind is doing.
There goes the rescue swimmer with the stretcher. Now this is a three-engined helicopter, the Merlin, in this case 3 Rolls-Royce Turbomeca RTM322 turbofans, though the type is now only offered by its manufacturer Leonardo with the General Electric CT7, and it's got a pretty strong rotor downwash, and that makes it significantly more difficult for the rescue swimmer to secure the casualty safely, but such is the sort of operation they have to carry out. And here, bear in mind, the pilot in command can't see anything below the helicopter. The systems operator inside the helicopter is keeping an eye on the rescue operation, and on their commands, the aircraft captain, the pilot in command, moves the helicopter into a more suitable position to effect the rescue.
A slight difference in this type of rotary craft from normal aircraft. Usually the captain will sit in the left-hand seat, with the co-pilot in the right-hand seat. However, in search and rescue type helicopters, the captain sits in the right-hand seat because, generally speaking, that's where the door is. The Portuguese Merlins regularly train at sea with vessels from the country's navy to practice their necessary skills. The priority for the Merlin fleet, as the rescue swimmer and the survivor are now winched into the helicopter, is support of the civil population, but the Merlins have regained a combat search and rescue tasking after some years where they didn't have that, and they've got 4 Mark 516 Merlins that are configured for that. They've got certain differences to these Mark 514s, such as folding rotor blades, chaff and flare dispensers for self-protection, machine gun mountings on the door and the rear ramp. And that requirement for combat search and rescue is why we're about to see the next manoeuvre. Generally speaking, if it was picking a survivor out of the sea, it would not be an issue, but on a combat search and rescue mission, it is critical to get the crew, the aircraft and the survivor away from potential enemy gunfire. So once the survivor is safely in the aircraft and the kit is stowed, you'll see a vertical takeoff and screw dive. This one is one of the 6 standard search and rescue Merlins on Portuguese strength. They've also got, apart from the CSAR, the combat SAR helicopters, 2 that are fitted out to perform fisheries patrol missions. Now there's a demonstration of 3-engine power. And it's going to be followed by a very vertiginous nose-over. And descending to 100 feet and accelerating to about 100 knots. Setting up for the low pass, as they say, to say goodbye. At 100 feet, with the cargo door open and the ramp open, they'll perform a 100-foot fly past over the runway with the crewman and pilot in command waving to the crowd. And the crew who've been flying for you today comprise the pilot in command, Major Rodolfo Curto, the co-pilot is Captain Jorge Tavares, the systems operator is Fabio Diaz, and the rescue swimmer, who we saw effecting the rescue of the simulated survivor, is Jose Feitera. As they turn to the runway, accelerating to 100 knots at exactly 100 feet, they will have a very good view of you. So as they pass, please do give them a wave to say thank you.
So then, the final pass from the Leonardo AW101 Merlin, Mark 514 of the Portuguese Air Force's Esquadra 751. Nowadays, all of the Royal Navy, and you can see one of the Royal Navy's Merlin HM2 maritime helicopters in the standing park.
I'm an AI pilot and trained pilot for soft machine learning. I fly a Griffin on BVR combats here.